Did anyone ever really tell you what life feels like after 80? I'm not talking about the cheerful birthday cards, the occasional jokes about forgetfulness, or the slower steps down the hallway. I'm talking about the moments in between, the ones when everything around you starts to feel it's about purpose. And if you're not prepared for it, if no one sat you down and said, hey, this is coming and here's how to meet it with strength, then it can hit you like a wave you didn't see coming. Now I want you to stay with me through this whole message, because I'm going to walk you through two of the most brutally honest truths about aging after 80. Not to scare you, not to bring you down, but to help you see it coming so when it does, you're not surprised. You're ready. Because readiness, my friend, brings peace. And peace at this stage is power. Let's start with the first truth. And I say this with all the care in the world. After 80, your social circle doesn't shrink, it dissolves. Quietly, invisibly, and sometimes all at once. One day you realize the phone doesn't ring like it used to. The calendar isn't as full. The kitchen table has more empty chairs than full ones. The people you've loved, laughed with, fought with, walked beside for years, they start to fade. Some move away, some get too tired, some pass on, and some just stop showing up. Not because they don't care, but because life pulls them in different directions. Or because they're facing the same quiet retreat that you are. It's not personal, but it still feels personal. I remember a man named George, 85 years old, lived in a small town in Ohio. For more than a decade, he had a tradition. Every morning, he'd walk to the local diner, sit at the corner booth and wait. And without fail, his friends would arrive. Same time, same table. No need for calls or reminders. It was ritual, connection. Then slowly it changed. First one friend passed, then another moved to a care home. One stopped driving. And before he knew it, George was sitting alone. Same booth, same coffee, no company. I asked him once how it felt, and he said something I'll never forget. He said, it's not the loneliness that gets you. It's the feeling that the world went on without asking if you wanted to come along. That kind of quiet can ache. It doesn't linger in the air. But here's the thing, you can do something about it. You can choose to be the one who reaches out. You can pick up the phone, write the letter, join the group, sit in the circle, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. Because after 80, connection isn't something that finds you. It's something you have to go and get. And the good news, you're not powerless. You still have a voice, a story, a reason to be known. You don't need 20 friends. You just need one or two good ones, and the courage to keep trying. Now let's talk about your body. Because after 80, your body doesn't just slow down, it begins to change the rules. Without asking your permission, you used to bounce back, you took a nap and felt better. You got a cold and you were fine in a week. But now a small cough lingers. A sore knee turns into a cane. A fall from trimming a bush becomes 6 months of rehab. Your body starts to say, hey, I can't do this like I used to. And it's not just frustrating, it's humbling. There was a woman I once knew, her name was Helen. She was 82, strong as ever in spirit, loved her garden, walked her neighborhood daily, read 3 books a month. Then one day she tripped over a loose root in the yard. Nothing dramatic, just a little tumble. She thought, I'll rest for a week. But the week turned into 2. Then a month, her legs got weaker, her breath shorter. She told me it wasn't the fall that got me. It was what came after. I stopped trusting my body, and it stopped trusting me. That's the part no one prepares you for. You don't bounce back like you used to, and sometimes you don't bounce at all. You adapt, you pivot, you go slower, you sit longer, and in that process you start to wonder, am I losing myself? But no, you're not. Because even though your body slows down, your spirit does not. Your mind may fog, your knees may shake, but your wisdom grows sharper. You start treating energy like gold, you use it wisely. You plan better, you listen deeper. You rest not out of defeat, but out of honor, for all the miles your body has carried you. And here's what I want you to hear clearly. Needing more time to recover doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. Aging isn't the opposite of living, it's part of it. It's the part where you stop rushing and start savoring. And yes, that can come with pain, with unpredictability, with fatigue that doesn't go away with a nap. But it also comes with perspective, with gratitude, with resilience. You don't need to prove anything anymore. You've already survived decades of storms. You've raised families, built homes, lost, gained, sacrificed, dreamed. And now your job isn't to keep up. It's to stay present. Present to the people who matter. Present to the small moments. Present to your own worth. If you're still with me, take a moment and comment below with the number 2, so I know you're listening. This is Elderly Reflections, and we're building a place where wisdom is honored, where senior health isn't overlooked, and where the quiet truths of aging are finally spoken out loud. Subscribe, hit the bell, and stay with us. Because in part 2, we're diving into the uncomfortable but very real topic of asking for help, and why that's not a sign of weakness, but a deeper kind of strength. And we'll talk about what it feels like when the world starts looking through you, not it, and how to change that, one powerful step at a time. The third truth about aging after 80 is this: you begin needing help in ways you never planned for. And it's not just physical, it's emotional. It's psychological, because for people who spent decades giving help, offering support, fixing everything, becoming the one who needs it, that can be a quiet heartbreak. I once met a man named Leonard, 86, former pilot, mechanic, father of 4, the kind of guy who could fix a faucet, change a tire, and give the best advice with one look. But one winter, he slipped on his icy driveway. Nothing broken, just a deep bruise in his hip. And his pride. He didn't tell his kids, didn't tell his neighbors, said nothing. But they noticed. They saw how he winced when he walked, how he didn't drive in the rain anymore. Eventually, his daughter started dropping by with groceries, stayed for coffee. At first he resisted, said, "I'm fine." Then one day she came in and found the trash hadn't been taken out in a week. That's when he admitted something most men struggle to say: "I think I need a little help now." And my God, that moment, that sentence, it carries so much weight. Because it's not just asking for help. It's admitting that something has changed, that you've crossed into a season of life where your independence no longer looks like it did at 60. And that's scary, but here's the truth. Accepting help isn't the opposite of independence. It's the evolution of it. Because when you let others support you, you're not losing your strength. You're using it wisely. You're extending your ability to stay home longer, to walk safer, to breathe easier. It's not defeat, it's strategy. It's love. It's protection. And not all help has to come from people. Sometimes it's a grab bar in the shower, a chair next to the stove, a little reminder on the fridge. These things don't steal your dignity. They protect it. They preserve it. They extend your freedom, but let's be honest. There's a deeper wound here too. It's not just about the body, it's about what comes next. And that's the fourth truth. One I wish more people talked about openly. You start feeling invisible. Not to your family, maybe. Not to your closest friends. But to the world. To strangers. To waiters, to cashiers. To the person who cuts in front of you at the pharmacy because they assume you won't say anything. You start noticing things. The server at the restaurant talks to your daughter, not to you. The nurse explains your medication to your son even though you're sitting right there. The cashier doesn't look you in the eye. The flight attendant assumes you need help even when you don't. Or worse, assumes you can't help even when you can. And over time you start asking yourself a painful question. Do they even see me anymore? I remember a woman named Patricia. She was 87, elegant, sharp as ever. She volunteered once a week at a local museum in Virginia, mostly helping with the World War II exhibit. Because, while she lived through it, one day a group of high schoolers came in and a teacher asked a question about the 1948th. She could have answered it in her sleep. But no one looked at her, no one asked. They looked right past her, even as she stood just a few feet away. Later she told me, "I don't mind being older. I mind being invisible." And that's what happens in a society obsessed with speed, youth, and noise. It forgets that slow steps still carry stories. That white hair doesn't mean silence. That age doesn't mean irrelevance. But you, my friend, you still matter. Your voice still matters. Your opinion, your stories, your presence, they are valuable. Even when others forget, you can remember. And that is the antidote to invisibility. You speak, you ask the question, you share the memory. You vote. You dress the way that makes you feel like you. You laugh louder. You stand up even if your knees shake. Every time you claim your space, you remind the world and yourself that you are not done yet. Not by a long shot. You are not background noise. You are not a whisper. You are not someone who just used to be important. You are important. You are a living library. A survivor of decades. A voice of elderly wisdom that people need now more than ever. And you don't have to shout. You just have to speak. Let's finish what we started. Because if you've come this far, listen through the silence of shrinking circles, the unpredictability of an aging body, the quiet shame of needing help, and the painful experience of being overlooked. then you deserve to hear the most important truth of all. And it's this. After 80, if you don't redefine purpose, you risk being swallowed by regret. It doesn't come all at once. Regret rarely does. It sneaks in on quiet afternoons when the phone doesn't ring. It shows up in that strange ache in your chest, not from sickness, but from reflection. From space, from time that used to be filled with schedules and deadlines and tasks, and now is just still. Still, you start remembering moments you wish you could get back, people you wish you'd forgiven, dreams you put on hold and never came back to, and you wonder, did I live it right? Did I do enough? Did I become who I wanted to be? I met a man once named Stanley. He was 89, a retired history teacher, 43 years in the classroom. Generations of students learned from him. He was proud of that, he really was. But after he retired, something changed. He told me one day, I thought I'd feel free, but instead I feel untethered, like no one needs me anymore. That sentence cut deep, because Stanley wasn't bitter. He wasn't depressed, he was just lost. Like so many others after 80 who step out of their role and suddenly can't find their place. That's the danger. That's the quiet trap. When purpose used to mean doing leading meetings, caring for a spouse, managing a business, raising a family, what happens when all that stops? What happens when productivity is no longer the measure of your worth? That's when you have to make a choice, a powerful, radical choice. You have to redefine purpose, not as output, but as presence. Purpose doesn't end with retirement. It doesn't end when your kids move out, or your grandkids stop visiting, or your name disappears from the directory. It shifts. It becomes something gentler, but just as important. It becomes asking a neighbor how they're really doing. It becomes sharing a story from your youth that gives someone courage today. It becomes sitting with someone in silence so they don't feel alone. It becomes waking up with curiosity, even if your legs ache and your breath is shorter than it used to be. Because here's what I want you to hear. Purpose is not performance. Purpose is presence. And presence is power. You can still light someone's day with a smile. You can still teach. You can still guide. You can still create. Not in the way you used to, but in the way the world needs now. Quiet strength, still wisdom. Words that matter more because they're said by someone who's lived. I remember a woman named Diane. She was 86, lived alone in Florida. Her family was spread out across the country. She wasn't on social media, didn't own a smartphone, but every Friday she wrote letters, handwritten letters, to people she loved, to people she'd met only once. She wrote words of encouragement, prayers, stories. I can't travel anymore, she told me once, but my words still can. That was her purpose. And those letters, they meant more to people than she ever realized. Because Diane didn't wait for the world to ask her for meaning, she offered it. That's what I want for you. If you're in your 80s or headed there, don't wait for purpose to knock. Don't wait for someone to tell you that your presence matters. It already does. You already do. You just have to step into it, one small act at a time. And let me say this, regret is not your enemy. Regret is a reminder that your heart still feels, that your soul still reaches, that there are things left to do, but don't stay in it. Don't let it become your home. Let it guide you to what still matters. Let it turn into redemption. Because even now, even at this stage, you still get to choose. You get to choose to forgive yourself. You get to choose to slow down without giving up. You get to choose to be seen, to ask for help, to stand tall when someone talks over you. You get to choose to speak your truth, even if your voice shakes. And most importantly, you get to choose what kind of ending you want this chapter to have. This isn't the end of the book. This is the deep part of the story. The part where every word carries more meaning. The part where every smile, every memory, every moment of clarity becomes sacred. This is where your presence becomes your gift. Your patience becomes your wisdom. Your perspective becomes your legacy. So let me ask you, what will you choose today? Will you reach out to someone you haven't spoken to in years? Will you write down your story, even if no one's asked for it? Will you walk down your street and smile at a stranger? Will you start your day with purpose? Not the kind you used to chase, but the kind you now carry inside. You still matter, you still have time, and you still have something to give. Now, before we close, I want to say thank you for walking with me through these 5 brutal but honest truths about aging after 80. If something in this resonated with you, please comment below and tell me which part hit closest to your heart. And also, I'd love to know where you're watching from, what town, what state, What country? We're building a global community here on Elderly Reflections, and every voice counts. If you haven't yet, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell icon. That way you'll never miss another story about senior health, elderly wisdom, motivation, and the beautiful, complicated truth of life after 60, after 70, after 80, and beyond. Because aging isn't the end, it's just the beginning of a new kind of strength. Thank you for being here.